Hi everyone. First of all, I really want to thank you for honoring me as the HERStory recipient. I certainly do have a story, and I'm very honored. But I think what has helped me survive through all of this is actually putting my story together for the first time. And that's what I really hope to show people through my creativity, that we all have a story worth sharing. And when we're going through something really difficult, we don't always see it as a story that has this deeper meaning. When my stomach exploded my senior year of high school, and that was followed by 10 years of medical trauma, I didn't necessarily know that I was going to find some grand meaning at the end of it. It was by actually using my art, my theater, my writing, my music, to piece together what had happened to me, that I was kind of able to reframe my own narrative and find meaning where there wasn't necessarily any. So backtracking a bit, my life has been a bunch of detours. I was driven for musical theater. That was what I wanted to do. I was a singing, dancing theater ham. And I got into the top musical theater college of my choice, and then I was sexually abused by my voice teacher when I was 17 years old, and I completely froze. I left my body, and I don't even remember anything that happened. And then everything, just kind of happened really quickly, because, the April of my senior year, I just developed a terrible blood clot, and I was in a ton of pain. And condensing information here, I was rushed to the emergency room, and my stomach literally hit the ceiling of the operating room because there was so much pressure. And I was in a coma for months. And then when I woke up, doctors told me I couldn't eat or drink, and they didn't know when or if I'd ever be able to again. What do you say to that? It ended up being 6 years unable to have a bite of food or drink a drop of liquid, and 27 surgeries. But I never went to therapy because I saw a therapist, and he said, you can't eat or drink. I can't just make you sit in a room and talk about your feelings. That's torture. And it's true, it was torture. So I was really left to my own kind of devices to figure out, okay, how am I going to process all this? And thank goodness, I had creativity. I had that creative spirit within me. I think my biggest fear waking up from a coma is, as a performer, all you want to do is be vital and connect with the world through your creativity and express yourself. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be a has-been at 18. So I think that kind of fueled me with this manic drive to just stay, creating in any capacity I could. A month after I got discharged from the ICU, I got the lead role in a musical. I discovered mixed media art and went on to paint. And I wrote a one-woman musical about my life, Gutless and Grateful, which I've been touring for 5 years, not just to theaters, but as a mental health and sexual assault prevention program across the country, for conferences, for schools, for organizations, for hospitals. And it's been amazing because I get to, still do what I love, which is performing and creating and art, but I get to share my story. And more importantly, I ended up turning all those performances and speaking and things like that into workshops where I can, help other people share their own story. And what I call being a detourist is anyone that's had a detour in life, that somehow, stays open and curious to where that path may lead, and just follows that path one step at a time, and they slowly find that each detour has made them who they are. If you had asked me, what would you be doing had this not happened? If you'd asked me that a few years ago, I probably would have said, oh, I'd be on Broadway in New York and auditioning and da-da-da-da-da. That's how my life would go. But, you know, so much has happened because of this detour in my life. I've met new people, I've had new experiences. I finally went to college at 25. I've married, I've divorced, I've given TEDx talks, I've helped traumatized communities across the country. You know, I couldn't tell you what my life would be like otherwise, because, you know, you get to a point where the detour becomes your life, and that's what it is. And it's a beautiful thing when you reach that place of acceptance. And once you do, you can really reach a place of growth in really unforeseen directions. So, you know, I challenge anyone to be a detourist. Who doesn't have something in life that they don't expect? You know, you could say, oh my God, her stomach exploded, that's so extreme. But you know what? I experienced the same emotions on a detour that anyone would experience on a detour. You know, I experienced uncertainty, frustration, anger, you know, fear. You know, what do I do when life is just not what I expect anymore? And that's why I created the hashtag Love My Detour. That we can all share, you know, whatever detour we have in life, and find a way through it just by staying curious and open to where the path leads. And, you know, I still have detours. You know, the thing about detours is you have one and then another one comes from that, and, you know, life always keeps you guessing. But if you have that mentality, and especially creativity, you know, you don't have to be an artist, you know, draw on a napkin, cook a recipe, you know, dance to your favorite song, but we need some way to express how we feel on a detour so we can transform that, and that emotion can move us forward. And we can, you know, reap the gifts of the unexpected, because, you know, straight lines are boring, right? at least that's how I justify my crazy looking art. Anyway, I really wish I could be there. I'm actually performing my one-woman musical in New York this weekend, but I really I'm sending love from my detour to yours. And I mean, honestly, if I could share one thing, it's that I have a story. I didn't know it was a story until I started telling it. It also took almost a decade before I could even put words to it. And that's just me. So I have a story, but the thing is, if I have a story, then everyone has a story. You know, we all have a story worth sharing. If you're hearing my story and you're thinking, oh my God, I could never have gone through anything like that. You know what? As a 15-year-old punky theater kid, that's probably what I was thinking too. You really don't know what you are capable of until you are asked to it. I learned that firsthand. Please, if you had told me, oh, you're going to spend 6 years unable to eat or drink anything, you know, sustained on IV fluids, I would have been like, are you kidding? But everything passes. I can eat, I can drink, and I gotta tell you, every sip of water I still have to this day, I always think, I am so grateful. I really am. So, you know, that's another gift of a detour. It gives you gratitude when you get to the other side. So for anyone whose detours are still ongoing, we all have them. I certainly have some too. You know, you have to remember that every detour leads somewhere. You don't know where, but it leads somewhere, and eventually you'll find your flower. And that's, you know, the kind of drive that keeps us going. You know, what kind of flower is there? What could it be? It could be a beautiful discovery. You know, by nature of it being unknown, it's scary, but use that fear as energy to get you to the next point. I think that's why I have the energy of a racehorse. I never stop, but neither do detours. And neither does this speech, apparently. So anyway, thank you. Check out my musical Gutless and Grateful through my website, or, you know, ask me to come to you. I'm a theater ham and I love performing. And more than that, I love making people think of the detours in your life. So please, like, after you see this, think about, you know, what detours in my life have I already traveled? What am I still traveling? And what do I need to get to the next step? You know, what is the hope that I can latch on to? to get me to that flower, because your only job as a detourist is to keep going from one step to the next. That's all you have to think about. Don't think about the big picture, please. It'll give you a headache. It really will. But just think, what do I have to do to get to the very next step? And who knows, that flower might be right around the corner. It might be 6 years from now, but don't think like that. It really might be the next time you open your eyes. Anyway, thanks, you guys.